Welcome to everyone who's tuning in this evening, including students and parents from Ballard School and other wonderful local schools. Sadly, I'm not live with you this evening, although I am alive, I can confirm that, and to prove it, I'm planning on having a live Q&A afterwards. If you log into YouTube, you can post your questions or comments into the chat. I'm going to be talking with you this evening for about 30 minutes and would love to answer any of your questions live afterwards. Picture this. You've logged into your bank this morning online to check your balance and there's an unexpected credit of £1 million. And it's legitimate. It's not an error. It's really yours. What would you do? How would you change your life? Would you move house? Would you leave your job? Would you get a different job? Would you go on that adventure of a lifetime? Would you have extensive plastic surgery and fly off to live on a remote island just in case it was all a mistake and they wanted the money back? Actually, you may not need $1 million to fulfill your dreams despite what you think. It's like the lottery winner who's still not happy after winning large amounts of money because they still think it's the stuff that they buy that's going to make them happy. As the song says, money can't buy you love. Although it will mean, or may mean, a lot of people suddenly pretend to like you. One study found that over 60% of lottery winners had blown their winnings within 2 years and returned to the same net worth as they were before their big win. Some were even worse off than before they won the lottery. But funnily enough, most people would still like to win the lottery. You may have heard of a chap called Jack Whittaker, winner of more than $300 million in the US Powerball lottery. He has been extensively studied because of the litany of disasters that have befallen him after his big win. His wife left him, he was arrested for drunk driving, assaulting a bartender. Sadly, his granddaughter died of a drug overdose in his home, and he has had more than 400 lawsuits brought against him by friends, family members and others. He was once robbed of $500,000 of cash when he passed out in a nightclub. How big must his wallet have been to have had that much cash in it? I struggle to close mine with a few 20s and a nectar card. Jack Whittaker may have been a jack of all trades, but certainly not a master of his own life. And of course that's the key, mastering your own life. Let me explain. Time and again, as a financial planner and a wealth manager, I've found that it's not the money that gives us a fulfilling life. Sometimes it can even work against us. Let me tell you the story of Anne. Anne and her husband of 40 years had lived a relatively simple life in a modest 2-bedroom terrace property nearby us in Bournemouth. She worked hard as a full-time carer to a wealthy gentleman, Fred. For over 20 years, she was Fred's home help, cooking, cleaning, shopping, and helping to run his home. Fred was alone, without family, and he appreciated her kindness, care, and friendship. Through a natural course of time, Fred died. And unexpectedly in his will, he left Anne a £2 million inheritance. She was shocked. She'd never known wealth like it. Suddenly, her happy, simple life became much more complicated with lawyers, financial consultants and tax advisors. Anne's daughter-in-law and others began to tap her up for money, and it changed her relationship with her nearest and dearest. So rather than this having a wonderful impact on her life, it created much more stress for herself and her husband. Until finally one day she turned to me and said, "I wish we'd never had this gift." Now, I am a great advocate of get-rich-slowly schemes, although I don't put that on my LinkedIn profile. Justin King, I will make you rich, but very slowly. If we get wealthy slowly, we can learn the skills needed to allow money to enhance rather than destroy our lives. Let me ask you a question. When is the best time to plant a tree? In my opinion, 50 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. As long as it's not raining, if so, do it tomorrow. Farmers know that if you don't plant the seed, you don't get a crop. You can't go out a week before harvest time and say, oh, I need to get some seed in the ground. It takes time for you to grow throughout life. The people who are successful with money and lead fulfilling lives understand this. Having said that, I can help people to learn the secrets quickly. That's one time where I do approve of speed. The secret is this: you must integrate your wealth with what creates a fulfilling life. Your wealth has to serve your dream, but the dream has to come first. As a great philosopher once said to me, you gotta have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna have a dream come true? Actually, that's from the musical South Pacific. You get the idea, and I'm not going to get part of the choir. I'm fond of the cover version by Captain Sensible, which was damned good. Of course, I'm not saying that money is a bad thing. It's just that money is not what makes us happy. Pursuing our dreams is. A study by the Centre for Aging Better showed that there are 4 things that you need as an older person for a happy life. The first, of course, is good health. That doesn't mean you need to run a marathon. It means you can get around and you can do what you want to do. The second is to have enough money so that you feel financially secure, financially independent. Your income needs to meet your expenditure or exceed your expenditure. The third is friends and community, having people around you so that you can turn to in times of need. And the fourth thing, the most important thing, is a sense of purpose. The study showed that if you don't have a sense of purpose, having the other 3 will not lead to a happy later life. Let me tell you a story. Rob, a single chap, came to see me because he'd inherited some money. Rob is a very appropriate name for someone who gets money very quickly. He was confused about how this sudden wealth fitted into his life and what to do with it. So I gently explored what his ideal life would look like. He said, no one's really ever asked me that before, but someday I'd love to get married and have a family home, with a man shed at the bottom of the garden where I can paint. Because as a boy, I'd been a real keen artist. And then almost apologetically, he said, I haven't ever told anyone this before, but I've had a dream to be a senior medical in the Special Forces. I've tried twice, but failed selection. It still ignores away at me that I haven't achieved that goal. Don't give up on this, Rob. This is important. Let's make a plan. About a year later, I bumped into his girlfriend, who rushed up to me and gave me a big hug. I don't know what you said to Rob that day, but guess what? We're engaged. Everything's changed. We found a home to buy with a garden shed, and he's landed a job as a senior medic in the Special Forces. And he's going to be able to do lots of painting. All the rooms need decorating. What I'm saying here is that good lives can be fueled by money once you've identified what really matters. So, if pursuing our dreams is what makes us happy, why don't we all do it? I'm sure you're familiar with what a bell curve looks like. I found it's a great model for explaining where people are at in their lives. After 30 years of providing financial planning advice, I've noticed that people fall into 4 zones. For the teachers out there, you may observe this in your students. For students listening to this, you may observe it in your classmates. And for the sports people out there, you may observe it amongst your teammates. For the parents amongst you, you may observe it amongst your colleagues, your friends, and your family. Over the years, I've found that people sit on the bell curve somewhere. Sadly, there are too many people who sit in the red zone. This really is not a very happy place to be. They're lost. They don't know what they want out of life. They don't have a plan. And they don't feel they've got any time, any talents, or any energy. Sadly, they're victims. They're not heroes. And quite frankly, life's a challenge. And the future doesn't look any better. I feel that people in this zone are spectating. They're spectating in life. You'll know some of your teammates who are on the pitch but still effectively spectating. They might as well be on the sidelines watching. The thing is, being stuck at this level is sometimes not their fault. People find themselves trapped behind the fear line. It's like the world is working against them. What keeps people down here from getting on the pitch and playing is that the fact that they feel lost. They're unable to move forward. It really is unfortunate that people believe that the myth, that life happens to you, and you have to accept fate and you can't control the direction of your life takes. Now, if you challenge this myth and recognise the truth that you have more control over the direction your life takes than you think, you almost immediately jump into the next zone. The downward trajectory of the red line has been smoothed out a bit. But it's still a bit of a flatline situation. This is an area that a lot of people find themselves in. I think they're participating in life. They're turning up, they're doing great things in their lives, maybe some amazing things, but somehow it still feels a bit empty. There's a sense of, is this all there is, of going through the motions? Maybe this resonates with you as you turn up to school or work each day or onto your next Teams call, wondering how what you're doing today is relevant for your future. For some, there's a frustration that they're not making the best use of their talents. Could you have made a different career choice 20 years ago? Where would you be right now? For people in this zone, the problem is that they're unclear about the purpose of their lives. People in this zone let life unfold for them. They're the passenger rather than the driver. Now, it's not a totally unhappy place to be, but it's not a particularly happy place either. The thing is that no one will pull you up for just participating because the majority of the population are drifting through life too. The key to moving through this part of the curve is to engage. This would put you into the focus zone. And the focus zone, this is where the performance line tilts up. It tilts up and people get better outcomes. It's a happier place for sure. I often see people moving through this zone by taking ownership of their dreams and ambitions. People have ideas of what they want to do. They're taking more control of their future. And they've got a good idea of where they're heading. And they are making decisions. But they're not realising the impact each separate decision has on their overall plan. Look at the opportunities you have available, particularly at schools like Ballard, music, drama, sport. By grabbing these opportunities, you'll learn new skills that your future self will thank you for. Saying yes to a part in a play may give you the confidence to talk in front of a larger audience later in life. The thing is, though, a funny thing happens when we work with people at this level. They hit what we call, or I call, the good enough line. As you hit the good enough line, it's easy to buy into the myth that I'm doing okay and okay is good enough. The truth is that good enough traps you. Good enough is not pandemic proof. What if Steve Jobs and Apple had created the iPod and then said, well, that's good enough? Another company would have created the iPhone and the iPad, and Apple would not have become the greatest company in the world. Think about it another way. What if you were buying a product or service and the company said to you, or selling to you, said, we're going to try and do a good enough job? How would you feel about that? Once you understand that good enough has trapped you, everything changes. And you move into the winning zone. The people I advise in the winning zone have a crystal clear vision of what a great life looks like for them. They have a detailed 1, 3, 10-year plan that keeps them focused on the things that matters to them most. They've created time to spend on the things that are important to them. They know they're using their talents to the best of their ability and continually feel energized by the value that they bring to the world. This is a super happy place to be. And if you're making progress in the winning zone, in the focus zone, sorry, in the winning zone, the curve in this zone is exponential. It just accelerates. At this level, everything feels great, and you've really committed to having a meaningful life. And if you think about the bell curve with 1 on the left and 10 on the right, and 5 and 6 in the middle, where would you say that you are on that curve right now? So let's take a look at what you can do to move through the curve so that you can thrive in your life. We often think there are barriers, but with a little lateral thinking, they can be overcome. Maybe you're sat watching this and you'll be leaving school at the end of this year or next, and you dream of traveling the world, but you have no money. I mean, to be honest, we're all dreaming of traveling currently, but I regard a trip to Tesco as an expedition these days. But thinking about it, how else could you go? Look what you do have. Time, not money. When I was 16, I left home. By 18, I was backpacking around the world. With just enough money to get me out of the UK, I worked in all sorts of jobs to earn the money to get me to the next place. Without sailing experience, I got myself a job as a deckhand, scrubbing decks on boats, and after many hours on the water, I ended up qualifying as a yachtmaster. It just goes to show, if you haven't got much money, the sails are a good place to start. You can travel for free if you work on a yacht, or maybe a cruise liner. People have even cycled around the world, which is kind of tough on a bike, especially, through the oceans. We tend to see all the reasons why we can't do something, not the reasons we can. Elon Musk, the serial entrepreneur, founder of Tesla, now the world's richest man, starts with the premise, what can we do, not what can't we do? And look how far that's taken him. On his way to Mars, he's put all his energies into creating a successful luxury electric car range. I'm sure at some point he will have to recharge his own batteries. But maybe you do know what to do. You're not lazy, bored, or unmotivated. You could be a little afraid or confused. All Rob, the Special Forces doctor, needed was the confidence to go after his dream, the clarity to know exactly what that dream was, to distill down what matters most, and to take action. And to take action now. Too often we think we can put off our priorities into the future. How many parents watching have thought, I'll start living my dreams and passions when I retire? We think I'll just carry on, maybe another 10 years, possibly not seeing my family as much as I would like, maybe commuting 2 hours a day, feeling time constrained, and then I'll have the time for my passions. I'm sure you all know of a 50-year-old something who faced an unexpected illness. What did they do in the face of cancer diagnosis or a heart attack? How did they change their life? Unfortunately, it often takes a health-related wake-up call to make us reassess our priorities. None of us knows how long we've got left.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
Let me tell you about my sister, Bryony. At 35, she was the managing director of a fashion company in London. She'd recognized that while it had been fun running this company, it was no longer for her. She gave up her big city job to go and live in rural Gloucestershire to raise pigs and chickens. Last August, while I was on the beach in Devon with my family, with Kathy and the girls, we walked up the steep steps off the beach into the village, and both my wife and my phones bleeped. It was my brother, who'd been trying to get hold of me all day. I called him back and he said, "Last night, Bryony was climbing up the stairs to go to bed with a puppy under one arm and a glass of water in the other. And she's tripped. She's fallen down the stairs and banged her head on the flagstone floor below. She's dead." I'm only grateful that she didn't make the mistake so many of us do. She faced her fears and showed the courage needed to make a change to her life, to pursue her own dreams. It was all too short, but she did get to live a fulfilling life. So what do we need to do? The first step is to have clarity of what we want in our lives. Imagine that you woke up tomorrow and suddenly you had all the money you need to do whatever you want. What do you do? What do you change? Would you change where you live? Would you work a different way? Would you revisit some old hobbies that you haven't done for a long time? Or take up something new? What would you do? They say if you don't have a plan, you'll become part of someone else's plan. Make sure, as you climb up that ladder, that when you get near to the top, you don't find it was leaning against the wrong wall all along. You don't even need to wait until you're at the top. Maybe you can start planning to live that life right now. Research has shown that we can be relatively happy at every income level. Remember getting your first paycheck, that feeling of going from a student lifestyle to earning over £20,000. You feel like you're absolutely rolling in it, thousands of pounds. It's only our overcommitment to expenditure that means that we have to create more and more income. Of course, it's a natural state of progress, the human condition. But if your priority is financial freedom, then controlling your costs is a superpower. All the wealthy, successful people that I work with have a great understanding of their expenditure and its impact. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your 15-year-old self? I'd tell myself to buy shares in Google and not waste time worrying about spots. I asked this question to my clients. They said 3 things. Take advantage of the opportunities open to you at every moment. Find work that you truly love. Do things with purpose. And I'd like to leave you with 3 things, even if you're no longer your 15-year-old self, because this applies no matter what age you are. Find your dream. Money doesn't buy us happiness. It can help, but what's more important is to find and pursue your dreams. Take the risk of bringing your dreams to life. Don't be trapped by the good enough line. It's not too late. You're never too old to live a fulfilling life. And lastly, remember, if you dare to live your fulfilling life, you are unlocking the possibility that your children will do the same. Would you ever tell your children to go out and do an unfulfilling job that makes them lots of money? No! But if that's what you are doing, then why would they do anything different? It never works to say, do as I say and not as I do. They observe and they follow. What are your children learning from you? Is it time to live as if you had just made $1 million? When is it a good time to ensure your life is fulfilled? 20 years ago. But failing that, the time to live a fulfilling life is today. Thank you so much for watching. I really look forward to any questions or comments that you may have.